President Biden and Vice President Harris have met with congressional leadership at the White House. The group spoke at length about infrastructure. The president has been clear. He believes the United States should go big, $2.3 trillion big. But Republicans and Democrats disagree on what constitutes infrastructure and how it should be paid for. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell believes he has a solution. He says infrastructure improvements should cost no more than $800 billion. We looked up how Senator McConnell's home state of Kentucky is doing in terms of overall infrastructure. The answer, not great. As of 2019, the highest grade the bluegrass state received was a B-, and that was in both energy and solid waste. As you can see, bridges and roads received C- and D+ grades respectively. Kentucky's overall grade was a C-. So for more on this, let's bring in Joseph Meyer. He is the mayor of Covington, Kentucky. Mayor Meyer, welcome. It's great to have you with us. I'm going to get to your city in just a moment. But first, Senator McConnell and the president are about $1.5 trillion apart on how much money they want to spend on revitalizing American infrastructure. Is there a legitimate compromise to be made here, and what do you see that looking like?
In politics, there's always the possibility of a legitimate compromise if the parties enter into negotiations in good faith. The question is whether the folks in Washington are capable of good faith negotiations these days. We haven't seen a lot of examples where that's occurred recently, but we can always hope that it will happen.
Yes, I think a lot of voters would agree with you on that. Now, of course, your city of Covington has actually come under the national spotlight recently during this debate over infrastructure. You know, for our audience who may not be aware, Covington is also, is along the Ohio River, right across from Cincinnati, and thousands of people drive over that river using the Brent Spence Bridge, which is in dire need of repair. How problematic is the bridge for people in northern Kentucky? And is the president's infrastructure package something that you and Senator McConnell can get behind if it includes ample funding for that bridge?
Well, the bridge is a nightmare for everybody, and there's no doubt that it needs improvement. And we recognize the need for those improvements. And yes, if there's enough money in the fund to pay for the full cost of the bridge, that would mitigate some of the damages that would be associated with tolls and other funding mechanisms that would make an agreement on the overall plan far more likely. But I must say that as long as we've been talking about the Brent Spence Bridge, there is still not an agreed upon plan for how this bridge should be reconstructed. And I will also point out that a large part of the problem with the Brent Spence Bridge has been historically bad planning. So the Brent Spence Bridge was constructed for one interstate highway, I-75, north and south. Over the years, over the decades, interstates I-71 and I-74 from Indianapolis have been added to the corridor. So there are some fundamental issues with the design of the transportation network in greater Cincinnati that contribute to the problems with the bridge. And if the focus is just on the bridge without any resolution of those greater transportation network design issues, what we build will be good for about 8 or 10 years, and then we'll be back with the same problem.
So, Mayor, it sounds like you want the solution to be bigger rather than smaller as well.
Well, we wanted both ways. We want a big solution that actually addresses the region's fundamental transportation network, while at the same time, the Brent Spence Bridge itself should be considerably smaller than what is proposed and what's currently on the table.
Right. Okay. So, Mayor, I want to pivot just a bit and ask you about this Colonial Pipeline shutdown that is, of course, triggering gas price hikes across much of the Southeast. Is this affecting your area, first of all? And secondly, in sort of more of a big picture question, a recent Wall Street Journal op-ed says that this is potentially a sign of worse things to come, and the real infrastructure problem is these cyber vulnerabilities. So would you like to see the president do more to be addressing these sorts of problems head on?
Absolutely. The ransomware issue is a real issue for all governments and all major businesses across the United States. And the president and the Congress need to take steps to protect that part of our infrastructure from these unwarranted hackings and extortion efforts by foreign actors. That's a critical issue for us.
And how is your region doing right now in light of the Colonial Pipeline hacking?
Well, just speaking for myself, we haven't seen much of an impact of the pipeline shutdown here yet.
Okay, great. Well, Covington, Kentucky Mayor Joseph Meyer, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you, Tanya. Appreciate being with you this morning.